Welcome to Support Life, a program focusing on current social issues from a life-affirming perspective. I'm Gavin Bolch and my guest is Fiona Bellett. Hello, Fiona.
Hello, Gavin.
Welcome. You've travelled a long way, at least you started off in New Zealand.
Yes, came over in 2002 from Christchurch.
Yes.
And now we're living in Melbourne.
Good. So you're almost an Aussie?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say that.
Okay.
I've been assimilated by the Borg, the Aussie Borg.
Okay, you've done that. Going back to New Zealand, what was your funnest time in your growing up?
Okay, I suppose my teenage years were very peaceful, and it was very fun-loving. Spent days at the beach, Mount Maunganui, and travelled around a bit, and the country with my friends.
Yeah,
so.
Beautiful place. Didn't do any skiing?
No.
Snow skiing?
No.
Just sun and surf girl?
Yeah, I'm a sun and surf girl.
Okay.
Yes, love the beach.
Great.
Love water.
All right, now you went to university?
Yes, in 1978 I went down to Canterbury in the South Island and began a course in classics and art history, and during which I actually didn't complete that degree because I experienced burnout, and so I began to question my existence on the planet, because it was a crisis really, to suddenly not be able to write a sentence on a page.
Particularly studying the classics, I mean, there's a richness and a depth, right?
Yes.
And then to go, blank?
Yeah, well, but at the same time, I having studied the Greek philosophers, one in particular, Socrates, Know Thyself, that spoke to me, and at that time where I just felt I couldn't function, I thought, well, it's best to now have a look at what Fiona needs to do, really, to discover who she really is.
Okay. Did you discover who she really is?
Yes, I have. I have.
Good. Okay, now that journey, that we call it life and spiritual formation, kind of a combination, life and spiritual formation for you?
Yes.
In New Zealand?
In New Zealand.
All right, so New Zealand does hold some very rich memories.
Yes.
All right, who influenced you most during that time? You've talked about Socrates. Who else?
I met a lady when Queen Elizabeth II came over and visited Christchurch and opened the Christchurch Cathedral, the extension to the Christchurch Cathedral, which is now, of course, has been ruined by the earthquake that happened. But I ended up standing next to a lady because she had the biggest bunch of flowers and she was about to give those to the Queen. And I thought, right, I'm standing next to her. I'm going to be able to then get a good bird's eye view. And this lady turned out to be she became a very close friend. She was like a sister, a mother, and she was a Christian lady. And she has influenced me because of the way she she opens up her life to other people. Very kind, unselfish, very giving woman. And she's given to countless others over her lifetime, particularly with young women who have been single women who have found themselves pregnant. In fact, she was a matron for caring for women who were left pregnant and alone. So she would be one of my biggest influences, other than the late and great Reverend David Watson, who was came over from England, an Anglican minister, university chaplain, and an evangelist, Christian.
Okay, so there were some dots placed on your page of I'm finding who I am.
That's right.
Great. Now, did you see the Queen?
Yes, we did, but she didn't look at me.
Okay.
She looked at my friend.
But you
Just
looked
as
at her.
well.
The Queen looked at you.
No, she missed me. She looked at the person next to me on one side, missed, and then focused on my friend.
Okay, but she might have fond memories that you saw her. She could see you looking at her. And
Yeah,
you never know.
it
We'll
was
ask her
one
one
of
day.
those moments in time that you don't forget.
Yes. It's interesting though what we remember. You know, I mean, that's kind of like she saw the person next to me, and both sides. But I think I was looked past. Did your childhood have some rough moments where you were looked past?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can admit that.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in my my childhood experience.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much in my teens, but my childhood.
Yeah. Well, we'll leave that there. But it all makes who we are. All right. So who we are, 2015. You're in Melbourne, and you're enjoying being here since 2000.
It was hard to begin with because I'd left some very close friends, and like everyone travelling to a different country, you have to sort of ease your way into the cultural characteristics.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And in this case, it's Victoria. But I did get very homesick initially, and there are subtle differences between our two countries, even though we're closely allied to each other.
Yeah.
And yes, it's been harder. But what has actually made it easier for us is our connection with our Christian family, our Catholic parish at St Benedict's, and the close relationships we have now with people. So that's helped us ease in. And also we were in one suburb, which we were there for about 10 to 12 years. But now we've kind of moved out to a larger, newer property, and we're feeling a lot more settled, and we're very happy actually.
Good. Well, Fiona, we'll explore that further. You're watching Support Life, and we'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Support Life. I'm Gavin Bolch, and my guest is Fiona Bellett. Fiona, we have come right up to date. You've moved to a new suburb. You're at St Benedict's community for fellowship. You're doing something a little deeper there. You're not just attending church and mass on Sundays, but you're going to do what?
We're about to take an underway commitment to the Disciples of Jesus community, covenant community. So that's my husband and I, and that'll be next month in August.
Okay.
We're looking forward to that.
All right. All right, now let's wind the clock back to 2000. So here you are, and you're in Melbourne, and you could say, as most women are, I have 4 children, but they were not necessarily planned, but we had 4 children. Was this an unexpected pregnancy?
No. When I went in for my pregnancy test, the nurse came along and she said, was this planned or not? And I was a bit affronted by that, because as far as I was concerned, it's my own business. Why is she questioning me about the judgment I've made about being pregnant and getting pregnant? So we were we'd been married several years, so we were ready to start a family, but we hadn't really made a decision that this was when we were going to do it. And so we were quite happy to find out. Yeah.
So Fiona, you've got this kind of unplanned pregnancy, but wanted, and in the first couple of weeks, what happens?
Well, I went and I wasn't feeling very good at all. I felt very ill and, nausea. And they discovered that I had diabetes. And so there was a mad dash for me to get the care that I needed to get my blood sugars under control. And I take my hat off to those ones in Christchurch who were able to do that and help me with it. And it also meant regular visits to the endocrinologist, because as you're pregnant you need to be seeing one diligently. First it was once a week, and then it for several months once a week, and then we extended the time, and it was down to once a fortnight, once a month.
Okay, so here you are having regular checkups, but it went even further, didn't it? You got another surprise.
Yeah, in the second trimester there was, we have our scans, so the scan showed up that there was an abnormality.
Okay, so who did that throw?
Well, I felt like it was cold water, thrown over me. Take the joy out, oh no, not another thing. But I was still very confident about this baby that was growing within me and this life. So what happened was I was told that I should have an amniocentesis test, which I didn't particularly want to do. And I was also told that with an abnormal scan like this, that there was probably a chance that this baby, when it was born, would not survive. It was quite a negative thing for me to sort of say, to be told, have this test, and then Fiona, you're going to have to decide whether you're going to keep it or not. And I felt that, no, I didn't, that wasn't an issue for me. I was pregnant, I had a life growing inside of me, and I was going to bring that baby to that life to full term.
Okay.
And so my endocrinologist was very supportive about the fact that I was pregnant, and that the chances of having that it was there was more of a chance of doing damage through that test than there was the chance of me actually having a child that was going to have a problem, and a genetic problem. And so I was quite happy just to continue, with my pregnancy and not have the test at all. But I was under pressure to have it, and there was quite a bit of doom and gloom given to me about it too.
So would you, on looking back, call it you were badly informed about what was going to happen?
I wouldn't say it wasn't badly informed. I mean, sure enough, the scan revealed something, but what right has someone else to tell me what I need to do about this life? As far as I'm concerned, I wanted it. So I knew that regardless of what the outcome was, when I had it, I would have that support anyway from my own Catholic family. So it's not like it was, for me it wasn't a disastrous thing, at all. But I think that the technology was far ahead of really, perhaps the advice given wasn't exactly in line with.
What's the advice given in a cold way and almost an imposing a point of view?
Oh, it was definitely imposing, but it also when I said no and declined it, I was made to feel quite guilty. I felt quite guilty that, you're going to have this child and the child's going to die, type of thing. That's how I felt. But and guilty that I wasn't being responsible. And this was just one person.
Yes.
And their interpretation of what they saw.
Well, let's come back to that story in a moment. You're watching Support Life, and we'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Support Life. I'm Gavin Bolts and my guest is Fiona Bellett. Well, Fiona, we've got up to this wonderful pregnancy that's got a few negatives that are imposed upon you, but you're still basically content and know very clearly that you're taking this child to full term.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. And how did you and your husband kind of discuss it with this other imposition?
Well, there was
place?
no issue. There was no question about it. We knew I was having a baby and I was going to have it, basically. And no one was going to try and stop me from having it.
So we have this wonderful child, okay, and tell me a little about the child now.
Okay, well, he's 15, he's healthy, he's happy, and he's very bright. And he came over when he was 2, and he's been through his primary years, he's been at school, and now we home educate him. He's a gift to us. He's a delight. And my life would never be the same if we didn't have him. And the same with my husband. And it's been worth every minute of the trials and tribulations that you have in rearing a child.
We do have trials and tribulations in rearing.
It's not an easy task.
This is
at all.
an investment, right, for the future of society, community, the country we live in.
That's right.
So at 15, into IT?
Yes, he's doing his own little video editing as a hobby, and he loves his music and his tap dancing.
Good.
And yes, he's got his own ideas about what he wants to accomplish.
Good.
He's got vision.
Yes. Well, you know, vision keeps you on the right track, and it saves not only that person but others from kind of perishing, falling into a black hole of nothingness.
Yeah.
Okay, so what has he taught you, this wonderful child?
How to love, how to be tolerant, how to be patient, and he's also taught us that, yes, I suppose it's you learn about yourself through your children, and he's also taught us that life is precious, valuable, and I'm just grateful that I never succumbed to what someone else was saying and just we stood our ground and just persevered through what may happen, you know, that news. So, and we did that, and there's no looking back.
So you think for a moment, okay, who would want to dispose of a life and not want to have the greatest learning curve, the greatest personal development for ourselves in raising that child? Can you imagine just not living with that child?
No. Not every woman is able to conceive and have children, and they desperately want a life. And I've only been given one, really, because it's, and I'm really content with the way it's kind of worked out. But yeah, it's just another. I can't really imagine not have. It's a whole new ball game having a child. Your mind is opened up to possibilities that you would never even imagine, and your life just takes on, and it's just enriched, so enriched, and yeah.
So to those who are watching, if there are some women with an unexpected pregnancy, you're saying, hey, don't miss out now on the greatest adventure you could have.
Yes, that's right.
Rather than the greatest disappointment you might choose.
Yeah, that's certainly it, the greatest adventure. I would say, stick to your guns. And this being within you will probably end up being your greatest treasure. You know, I mean, it's not going to be easy, but even if we don't have children, life will not be easy at times. But
okay, so the support system that came into being because you're pregnant, you've got diabetes, the child may have some issues when they're born. How did this community support, undergird your pregnancy period?
I think the support was to believe in myself, to believe in my inner convictions, and to not be sort of bought into to not buy into the fact that there was a possibility that he was going to be all right. So to not just concentrate on the bad things. I mean, or what may happen, which might not happen at all. So I just, there were just people who I knew that come what may, they would be there for me, and they also believed in this baby. And I think that's,
What did you call the child? The name?
Ramon.
Ramon. Okay. Is there a story to that?
Yes, there is.
Okay, do you want to tell me?
Yes. I came down with a bad dose of the flu, and my girlfriend, we'd just come back from 6 months overseas, travelling around, and so anyway, I came back, got the flu, and we were staying, both Paul and I, with my girlfriend. This was about 2 years before he was born. And she gave me a whole pile of books to read as I'm lying there, compos mentis in the bed. And I came across that name, Ramon, and I really liked it. And I said, I mentioned it to Paul, but Paul, my husband, just happened to be reading another book, a totally different genre, and he came across the same name, and he said, well, would you believe that name is the same name that I've just seen and I like as well.
Is there a meaning to the name?
Wise, protective judge.
Okay, on that note, we'll conclude. You've been watching Support Life. That's all for our program today. Join us again next week. Goodbye.